around here and down the road, man, that gets looked at every year. Obviously, 100 Miles of Hate. Um, this football game man, features two teams on opposite ends, but um, when you look at this, man, for us, man, we want the record to go out the window. We want to be able to play our best ball, and I think that's exactly what we have to do. I just look at where we are right now, and uh, just after spending time with our team, I I know this much. Focus and fundamentals are definitely the catalyst for what we have to do to be able to play well in this ball game. That's what we're focused on right now. Uh, we have to make sure, man, that the level of intensity and the level of execution matches uh, the intensity and hunger of this ball game. And we have a great opponent in Western Kentucky coming in, or, or as we head there. I look at like their football team and where they're at right now, offensively. They've got weapons. Rodney Tisdale Jr. is playing extremely well. Um, he's he's got that offense clipping at a pretty high rate. Uh, they've got running backs, they've got receivers. They're actually a pretty talented group all the way around. I mean, when you look at their production, whether you're talking about Henry, Hutchinson, or Barry, um, at the receiver position, those guys can flat out play. And then, that three-headed monster at running back is actually really good. So, they've got balance to what they do, and we have to meet balance with physicality because they are pretty good in the run game. Um, when you look at who they are defensively, they're a group uh, that's structured in 3-4 structure, but go to 3-3-5 when they play their nickel package, and they've done a good job of pressuring and getting folks off the field. They're good up front. Zero is a home wrecker. I mean, when you see him play inside, he does a really good job with tackles for loss, and he's been good at the line of scrimmage. When you look at their inside backers, um, you know, two leading tacklers, man, they do a really good job. That's Webster and Breckenridge. Both of those guys, man, have been productive for them. And their outside backers in the 3-4 structure do a really good job pressuring and getting sacks. So we understand who they are and what these guys are going to be. Man, we've been able to dig into the film over the last 24 hours and really um, understand how we need to be able to structure ourselves in base downs. We'll get to nickel downs here shortly over the next 24 hours, but it's going to be a good ball game for us. We got to play physical. We got to play fast. We got to score points against a really good team at home. So um, excited about the contest. I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, in a heated rivalry game like this, how do you ensure that your players keep the main thing instead of focusing on the rivalry aspect of things?
You know what? Right now, that we just got to focus on playing good football, right? And that's down in, down out. I'm not so worried about like the rivalry. I'll talk about it as we go through the week, so guys understand the history, okay, and have some recognition of it. But we have to focus more on execution, all right? And like I said, focus on the fundamentals, focus on the execution, and that's where the game's going to be, man, played, won or lost.
You mentioned it in your opening statement, but Western Kentucky's got a dynamic offense led by that wide receiver core. How do you stop a unit like that that's been so productive all year long?
Well, you got to find a way to get them the third down, get them off the field, right? And I think, um, when you look at what they've done, they've had some tough games too. Like when you look at FIU, when you look at a close La Tech game, everybody's trying to figure it out. Okay, they've got it figured out more than most. When you look at their offensive production, but we got to figure out again how to stop like the run because they've got a good enough group with run and pass, and that's the one thing about Western Kentucky and what Coach Helton has built there. Man, he's done a really good job of being balanced run and pass. And when you do that, man, that can be a little off-putting. So, man, you got to figure out, how to get them behind the chains a little bit, how to get them off track, and then how do you take the ball away, okay, and play well on special teams.
When you had a chance to, go deeper into what happened on Saturday and to move forward, and you talked about intensity and execution, was that
Mm-hmm.
an issue later in the game, and how do you move forward from that?
Well, I mean, I look later in the game at that, and that game took me back to Wisconsin a little bit. You're playing well, and then you go 6 minutes with a lapse in focus and fundamentals, and that's how it gets away from. You. I mean that's happened to us before, so I've seen it, right? But I thought this team did a good job of resetting and getting back to the middle, after that. And that's what this team's got to do. I mean, you look at it, you got to take it for what it is. We didn't play our best ball. We turned the ball over. We had young mistakes, man. We're playing a fair amount of young players like in there as well. And I I think for us, what we have to do, man, is not overreact because everybody else may. What we got to do, man, again, is just point out, what really happened. It was a 6 minute stretch of bad ball. Man, that sort of got away from us. And with that being said, we're gonna have to play this game possession by possession. We got to be smart, in the margins, and we got to do a really good job when we have opportunities, of scoring, putting points up. And I'm talking about explosive points. I said it a little bit last week, but it was good to see Cam Lacey late in the ball game get an explosive play because we hadn't hit one like in a minute, right? We've got guys, man, who can make some dynamic plays. Man, we got to hit those plays when they're open. Guys are running open, man. We got to hit them because now, man, you put a defense back on its heels, and I think that's part of it. Our focus, from minute to minute, like in game situations, can wane at times, and that's problematic. But again, working on the chemistry, got to get it right.
Coach, obviously Western Kentucky's never been afraid to pass the ball. Has
Yeah.
had great quarterbacks. And you look at Maverick McIver this year, transferred up to the FBS level. What makes him stick out from some of the previous guys that they've had under center or in the gun, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be Maverick, right? I think it's going to be Tisdale. I mean, if we're being honest, but you know, um, I think Maverick has shown that he can play from the pocket. He's a big quarterback, man, who's got uh, you know good accuracy, man. He knows how to go through a read progression. He's with his offensive coordinator that was at Abilene Christian, right? So for him, he's familiar with who's coaching him. So I think that's really important because between a coordinator and a quarterback, you got to be succinct and on the same page. And I think having been familiar with the system, okay, and the offense that they run, I think for him he had an advantage. But what you see with Tisdale, Junior looks a little different because you know as a dual threat quarterback, his ability, when shows up, he can extend plays, right? He makes the pocket, a little wider, a little. It has a little more depth to it, and he can step up, and he can continue to keep his eyes down the field, and I think that's why you see his completion percentage and his numbers uh, like skyrocket. I mean, his numbers are pretty good, right? For somebody who's only played a couple of consecutive games. So um, I think They've always done a really good job of developing quarterbacks in Western Kentucky, right? So that's part of what they do, man. We need to make it part of who we become.
And coach, kind of just looking at the series, dropping 9 of the last 10, what would a win this year mean for the program?
You know, it come at the right time. It needs to come at the right time. I mean, like for me, I've been involved in rivalries before. It took a while before the breakthrough, but when it came, and it came in a couple of bunches. And again, I think you can't worry about the record. I think what you got to worry about is how you attack this game. We have to attack this game better, right? I mean, it's needed now, and I think our guys are sort of primed for that a little bit. I think I mean, you come off a game like this where it's a little disappointing, but um, I saw some things protection wise, for the quarterback in this ball game that we did better. I think we got to run the ball better, obviously, and I think those guys want to run the ball. Um, you know, we have to uh, again just tag into this identity a little bit. We have to be a little more succinct with what we're doing to give our offensive line uh, some chances, right? We didn't give those guys enough chances, like in my opinion, and I think we go as they go. So I'm gonna lean on those guys a little bit. I think those guys got to get us um, up to speed and give us a chance because we can't run the ball for 33 yards. That's not what they want. That's not what we want, and that's not who those guys are. So let's get ready to go.
Coach, as you mentioned, you guys have played a good amount of younger guys this year.
Yeah.
How have you seen those guys develop and learn from their mistakes throughout the year?
Young guys, I've said it to you before, right? Young guys become old guys. I mean, you get a chance to see, a guy like Landon Collins go out there and make like contested catches, and we're going to play the guys that can make plays. You're starting to see guys like Chris Noble, man, take the field and play, man, extremely valuable snaps. He's had 2 consecutive starts, and I think he's played solid, like as a young guy in this, right? You what you have to do is make it, or what we have to do is make it more about uh, who's going to give us the best opportunity and not who seems to be the most talented. Right now, we're at a point where when you're looking at production and you want productive guys, and the guys that show up in practice are the guys that are going to show up in games. So to me, that's been a good lesson for us over the last couple of weeks. So as I'm looking at some of these guys, I mean, you can look at Corey Smith a year ago and how valuable those snaps were. I mean, you can look at Zion, uh, Simpson Smith, and look at how valuable those snaps were a year ago and where he is in this process. But I'm just starting to see some of these young guys, even a DJ Taylor. I know he fumbled on Saturday, and that's okay because he's going to make more plays in a Blue Raider uniform that people will remember than those 2 fumbles, right? So I'm just looking at it from a totally different perspective. And you can look at Gale, Alex Gale, getting snaps and making 2 consecutive starts. You can look at Otto. I think the revolution is now starting, right? And what we got to do, man, is make sure that we put veterans, young guys together so that we can sort of weave this tapestry and give us a chance to play some consistent ball.
Speaking of those young guys, that was the longest stretch that Roman has gotten to play since he's been here, and he seemed to get more comfortable every snap.
Yeah, Roman's talented. I think he's definitely going to be, a future dynamic player for us here. I like what I saw from Roman. I like the way he competed. It was good. So we just have to continue to keep getting better. I think the good thing is the ability to be able to challenge ourselves in practice. Roman challenges Nick in practice, and I think that's become the most important piece. I see him staying after practice. I see Stanley staying after practice because those guys know that they're only one play away from playing, right? And right now, we need as much challenging going on as we can get.
Anything else, Coach?
Appreciate you. Thank you. Take care. Let's go Blue.